Hi friends, welcome back. I have another very exciting video today. We are going to be tier ranking every book I read in 2024. That's self-explanatory. I think most people understand what a tier ranking is. If you don't, we're going to go through every book that I've read this year and put them into a category. So let's just jump right into it and talk about what my categories are. Okay, I love making these. I definitely took inspiration from other people's tier ranking lists as well, but this is the categories that I've decided to do for mine. Starting at the bottom, we have should have DNF'd. I think this is self-explanatory. This just means these are the books that I should have stopped reading instead of finishing them. I also don't keep track of the books I DNF, so there are no DNF'd books on this list. Next we have don't remember anything. I guess this is also self-explanatory. These are the books I don't remember the plot. I probably remember a little bit, but not really. Next we have should have been great, and these are the books that I had really high expectations and hopes for, and they ended up letting me down. I can already think of one. So sad. And then we have recommend but haven't thought twice about it, and these are like the middle ground books, like the three-ish stars. I liked them when I read them, but I never thought about them again. And then we have obsessed but not God tier, and these are going to be your 4-star books that I was obsessed with or loved, but they just weren't enough to make it to the very top. And finally, my highest ranking is consumes my every thought. Of course, these books are ones that I can never stop thinking about. People ask me about books, these are the ones I talk about. I don't shut up about them. I'm so annoying, but that is what these books are. Let's get into ranking them. Just a little bit about the books that I've read. It's a mix of romance, fantasy, and romance fantasy. But a lot of the stuff I read is YA, so there's a lot of YA. There's a few adult, but most of it's YA. Also, I read 59 books this year. That's actually crazy. I can't believe I did that. So this is ranking all 59 of them. We're going to jump right into it and start giving them their well-deserved rankings. Okay, so when I put these books in here, I don't know if they went in the right order, if they just dumped them in here. Unsure. So I'm just going to start at the top and in no particular order go through them. I'm hoping for the most part that series are kind of together, but if they're not, we're just going to do it as they are. But starting off, we have Ruthless Vows. I loved this book. I love this series. This is the second in a duology. So good. They send love letters to each other. It's like a historical fantasy romance. There's magical typewriters in the first one. Actually obsessed with it. But the second one does not consume my every waking thought. So this is going to go as our first obsessed but not God tier, because the first one I liked better. So I feel I cannot rate it at my top. Next we have A Darker Shade of Magic, and this is by V.E. Schwab. I'm not going to say the authors of all of these. I'm just pretty much saying book titles because the pictures are kind of cut up. I'm not looking. So, next we have A Darker Shade of Magic, like I said, by V.E. Schwab. And this book, I actually read it over the winter time when I was traveling by myself. So it has a little piece of nostalgia in my heart. But I don't remember anything about it. I'm not gonna lie. I do remember liking it. So I'm kind of torn between saying recommend but haven't thought twice about and don't remember anything. I remember liking it though. So I'm gonna send this one to recommend but haven't thought twice about. I feel as though I understand to a certain extent the gist of it, but it's a series. I have not read more than the first one, so that's obviously saying something. But I kind of remember the gist of it essentially is, and they're two different Londons. There's I think there's more than two. There's white London, red London, and black London or something like that. And there's people who can traverse through the different Londons. it's super interesting magic system. I really liked it and I wanted to read the second one, but I was out of town, so I didn't buy it, and then I just got into other things and forgot about it. Next we have Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. This is the second book in the Emily Wilde series. I, again, obsessed with this series. I loved the first one so much. I don't shut up about it. Even the second one, I think I liked it even more. Again, can't shut up about it. So this is going to be my first consumes my every thought. Because, oh my gosh, I wrote consumes my every though. That's so funny. Let's do a quick little adjustment to that. Okay. Now it's thought instead of though. Very good. I'm putting this as my first consumes my every thought. Again, I don't shut up about it. You ask me, there's a selection of books, some of them being in here, that like, if you ask me about books, I'm going to talk about these. It doesn't matter what you're interested in or what you ask me about, I'm going to talk about this. So, it's sitting up there. And then, oh gosh, we have House of Flame and Shadows. This is the Crescent City, the third book. I don't know, I think this is kind of a popular opinion. I don't know if it's popular or unpopular or what it is, but I didn't really like the Crescent City series. I felt like the books were way too long. It is like what is the term I'm looking for? A modern fantasy, where there's like cell phones and guns and cars and they're in a big city. I just couldn't get into it, and I loved her book, like her other books, Throne of Glass, of course. ACOTAR, obsessed. They're like all behind me. And Crescent City is hiding in this corner behind my shoulder because I'm just not a huge fan. But specifically the third one, this is a spoiler, so if you want no spoilers about Crescent City, skip 15 seconds past this. But there's a crossover. I was expecting so much from this crossover, and it let me down. Badly. I think that this was way overhyped. Okay, the spoiler is over now. But I think that it's way overhyped. Like, there was so much about the ending of the second book, and then this one happened, and I think, like, kind of everyone collectively was like, why? Like, what happened? It had such good potential, and it just didn't carry through. So, for that reason, it's going and should have been great. I wanted it to be great. It should have been great, and it wasn't. Next, we have A Fragile Enchantment. This was another book that I was really excited about, and I actually did like it. It's super cute. It has a good magic system. The main character is a seamstress, and that is, like, her magical power is that she, like, imbues, like, emotions or memories into, like, people's clothing that she makes. And then she goes and becomes a seamstress at, like, a royal castle or something. But it was really cute. Super good. I would recommend it, but have not thought twice about it. So that's where it's going. The next one we have is The Prison Healer. I did not like this book. I listened to it in audiobook, and it was bad. So bad. I don't remember anything about it. I remember not liking it. That's my biggest memory of it. But, I wished. I tried. I think this was, like, the book that really gave me the tipping point of, like, I need to start DNFing books instead of forcing myself to go through them. And I've been a little bit better about doing it. So, I can only go up from here. This is definitely going and should have DNF'd. It's where it belongs. I'm so sorry if you like The Prison Healer. I know it was, like, one of those big hyped books. But the main character was horrible. I hated her so much. With a passion, honestly. Next, I have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This one was, again, one I was so excited about. It was great. I liked it. But it was so weird. Like, in a good way. In, like, the Ali Hazelwood way. It is, like, a vampire werewolf romance. I think it's considered fantasy, pretty much. Kind of. It's like supernatural romance. This was the first one that she has ever done, and because she usually writes, Ali Hazelwood is a STEM author. She writes, all her books are about, like, people in the STEM field. So she decided to write this book about a werewolf, and a vampire, but it's very like, if you've heard of the Omegaverse, it's very much like that. And I liked it, but it also kind of made me uncomfy. I do think that I would recommend it to people though, just because it's like very fun. So I'm putting it in recommend, but haven't thought twice about. Because I feel like it is like weird, but it borders the line of like where cringy can turn like bad cringy. But this is like right in the middle where it's like, it's cringy, but bearably cringy in like an entertaining way, like Zodiac Academy, which is also another like cringy, but for me, bearably cringy. Okay. Next, I had to take a breather there for a second. Tress of the Emerald Sea. I'm so excited about this one. I just want to talk about it all the time. This is like the most amazing, magical, like, if you love The Princess Bride, but you wished that, like, Princess Buttercup was the, like, savior person, you would like this. It is literally The Princess Bride, but Princess Buttercup is saving the prince, and I was obsessed with it. I loved it. I could not shut up about it. It is amazing. My battery's about to die. We're gonna have to continue in a second. Okay, as I was saying, Tress of the Emerald Sea, fun. Princess Buttercup, Princess Bride, vibes. There's also a rat that's so fun, and the main character collects teacups. So cute. Plus, like, it's, I don't even know how to explain it. It's the most unique Brandon Sanderson book I've ever read, as in the way that it feels so different, but also you can tell it's Brandon Sanderson. I loved it. I don't shut up about it. So this is going and consumes my every thought, of course. But if you're looking for a fantastic, there's like not a lot going on, but there is. It's cozy, but also like the plot really keeps you like in it. So I recommend. It's my favorite cozy fantasy book where I feel like I don't get bored and like things are still progressing. Next we have, oh, I hope these are there, Defy the Night, which is the first book in a trilogy. I think it's just the Defy the Night trilogy, but I loved these books. So surprisingly, I picked them up really randomly, and I loved them. When I liked the first one right off the bat, I was obsessed. I couldn't stop. I think I read all three of these in like super fast time span. It was like I read like one a day or something insane like that because I was so obsessed with them. And I remember loving the second one the most. I think the second one was the best one. So for the first one, I'm gonna put it in obsessed but not God tier, because that really like ignited my love for the trilogy. I would read these again like a million times. I love them. I'm gonna keep saying it. But it is, this is gonna sound so bad because I'm like talking about how much I love them. I don't remember like a whole ton about them, but I do remember the feeling that I felt when I read them. And it's kind of about this girl who, I may be getting parts of this weirdly skewed, but it is about a girl who goes into this like castle, and she's like, actually I'm not even gonna explain any of that. I'm just gonna explain the gist of the universe, where there are these like flowers that are used as like this way to heal people from this sickness that is spreading, and the like lower class people are the people that are suffering. The higher class people have access to this medicine. They're doing fine. And there is a girl who is going, and I believe she like, I don't know if she steals the medicine, but she like gets the medicine and helps people. But she like teams up with someone who is secretly like, they are in disguise, and ends up being who she does not think he is, and very exciting. I loved them. I will read them again. It's definitely on my list. But the second one is for sure going in, actually, oh no. For a second, I felt like I should put it in Consumes My Every Thought, but if I can't remember like the whole plot, then it does not consume my every thought. So I'm thinking I'm going to put all 3 of them in obsessed but not God tier. I think that's where they need to go. Okay. I felt like for a second I wanted to put them in Consumes My Every Thought, at least the second one, but I feel as though I should know everything about it if I want to do that. Next I have Heartless Hunter. This was, or The Crimson Month, depending where you're at. This one was one that I got in like a book box, and I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, but I really liked it. It is like this vampire hunter, I'm stuck in Bride, I guess. It is a witch hunter and a witch. Witches aren't allowed. She's like facading as this like aristocrat. He is a witch hunter. She's a witch. They get together. Blah, 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 blah. But at night, this witch, who is like facading as the aristocrat, is also going at night and rescuing witches that are being taken by the witch hunters and being held in these prisons, and she's breaking them out and sending them on ships to safety, because other countries you can be a witch. It's just like where they live that you can't be a witch. I don't know why they don't all just leave. That's one of the things I think about sometimes, is like, if they're not allowed here but they're allowed in other places, why don't they just leave? I don't know, maybe that's not right. They should have, obviously they should have the right to live there. Just because they're witch, they shouldn't be like killed. But at the same time, like, if she's able to like get them to leave, why don't they all just decide to leave together? Like, she could leave too, and I don't know. Maybe that's explained somewhere in there and I don't remember. But I am going to put this in recommend but haven't thought twice about. I do remember really liking it, but again, like, I haven't really thought about it again. I have been excited about the second one though. So usually, like, when it comes to a series, if only one of them is out, and I kind of forget about it until the next one comes. And then when I like read more of the books in a series, it becomes better for me. This is our first romance. Well, I guess there's a lot of romances in here, but this is our first non-fantasy romance. And this is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is being adapted into a movie. I'm very excited about it. The cast is so good. But this is about a girl and her friend, and they're definitely in love. But, like, they haven't accepted that they're in love. And they're going on this... They used to go on vacations every year. Something happens, they stop. She wants to do one more. So they go on this vacation together, and of course, they rekindle their emotions for each other and end up together. Obviously, as all romances do happen that way. But, I don't know where I want to put this one. I think this is kind of another recommend, but haven't thought twice about. Because I would recommend Emily Henry, but this isn't the book that I would, like, talk about. When I think of Emily Henry, I think of, like, Funny Story or Book Lovers. I think of Happy Place. I don't think of, like, People We Meet on Vacation. It's probably one of my least favorite Emily Henry books. Then we have A Fate Inked in Blood, and this is by the same author who did The Bridge Kingdom, and we'll get to The Bridge Kingdom later, but this is I think it's Norse mythology is kind of the inspiration for it, and I really liked this one. This was, again, another one that I wasn't expecting, and, like, I didn't know existed until it existed, and then I found out about it and decided to read it and loved it. I think it's great. I don't think it's as good as her other books, just because I think I like the storylines a little bit better, but I do love her writing style. So I'm going, actually, I know Should Have Been Great is kind of like books I was anticipating, but I think that, like, because her other books are so good, that this should have been great. So I'm putting A Fate Inked in Blood and Should Have Been Great. I liked it, but it could have been so much better, because The Bridge Kingdom is so good. But next we have Where the Dark Stands Still, another book that I literally can't shut up about. I think I've talked about this book so many times. It is beautifully written. I will read anything that this woman writes. It's fantastic, amazing. It kind of reminds me of Howl's Moving Castle, but it is about like a girl who goes into the woods, and there is I don't want to call him a creature, but there's a man who lives in the woods, and his name is, it's like the Lessie or something like that. And supposedly he has something that will grant a wish. She wants to go in there and... Actually, this book is so much like For the Wolf that I sometimes mix them up. But no, I think that I am correct in this statement, that she goes there trying to find something, and he tells her that if she stays there with him, she can have her wish or whatever. It's like she wants a wish granted or something like that. It's beautiful. The storytelling is so good. Just like the theming is amazing. The characters are great. I just love it. I loved it so much. And it consumes my every thought. I think about it all the time. So that's where it's gone. If you have not read this, please go and read it. She also has another book coming out. I can't remember what it's called. But it is coming, and I will also be picking it up. Next we have An Enchantment of Ravens, and this is by the same, Raven Kennedy, I think is her name. But she wrote another series that I really liked, and I know where it's at. It's somewhere over there. Where are you? Sorcery of Thorns. She wrote Sorcery of Thorns, and I was obsessed. I loved that book so much. It was one of my favorite books. It has a talking library. Fantastic. So if you're looking to read something by her, I recommend Sorcery of Thorns. But she has another book called An Enchantment of Ravens, which is obviously the one we're talking about. I did not like this. I was very bored. It's not bad, but it's like, I just could not get into it, especially with how much I liked A Sorcery of Thorns. I think I had like high hopes for it. So this is going to be another should have DNF'd. I just don't think that I should have finished it. I forced myself to finish it. It's very small. Like, it's a small book. It does not take a lot of time to read. And I think that's a lot of the times why I won't DNF something, because I'm like, I'm so close because the book is so small. Like, I might as well just finish it and get through. But I just don't remember anything about it either. Like, because I was not interested. Next we have Shadow and Bone, and I did like this book. I read this, or watched the TV show first, and then, I read the book a while after. I don't know if I like one more than the other. I think they're both pretty good, but Shadow and Bone is, I think a lot of people know, like, about it and everything like that, but it's pretty much just, like, there's these people with magic, they're, like, mages, and they're fighting this war. There's a guy who, he is, like, the powerful one. He's called, like, the dark or something like that. The darkness. I don't know. Dark something. I can't remember. This just shows how well I remember some of the stuff that I read. But, I think that I would recommend this. But, again, I have not thought about it. So, I'm going to put it there. Recommend, but haven't thought twice about. Because I think it's good. And I think if you like those kinds of stories, and I haven't finished the series, I've only read the first one because I've heard the Six of Crows duology, which is a, like, spin-off duology, is really amazing, and that's why I'm trying to read the books Shadow and Bone first. I've heard you don't have to, but I would like to, and I only made it through the first one. Now we're getting into some fun territory, where I did a reread of Throne of Glass and read them all. These are, I believe, out of order. But I skipped some of them. I didn't read The Assassin's Blade again, and I did not read Tower of Dawn. I'm sorry. Anyone who likes Tower of Dawn, you're wrong. It's bad. It's not bad. I just hate chaos. I just couldn't get into it. I also, the first time I read, I did not do the tandem read. And I think that severely hurt my opinion of it, because you're just wanting to know what's happening with Celaena, and you just don't get that because you're just reading about Chaol. But Throne of Glass is the first one. Amazing story. I think most people, if you're watching this video, know what Throne of Glass is. I'm obsessed, of course. It is my whole personality. But I feel I don't want to put the whole series in Consumes My Every Thought, because I don't find that to be true. So starting with the first one, I'm going to put it as obsessed but not God tier. Because the first one is like, it starts it. You know what I mean? Like, it starts the series, it's good, but it's not amazing. I think Sarah J. Maas was like 16 when she wrote this one, and you can kind of tell. But also, there's so much nostalgia in reading the first one. Then we have Crown of Midnight. This is not in order, I don't think. Is it? I can never remember. Oh, it is. Okay, Crown of Midnight, Queen of Shadows. I've got this. Okay. It's in my head. So, Crown of Midnight, second one. Again, I'm putting this in obsessed but not God tier. And then I'm obviously, if this is in, I'm just going to go through all the rest of Throne of Glass and skip around in here. Then we have Heir of Fire. This one is one of my favorite ones. I love Heir of Fire so much. It consumes my every thought. It's going at the top. It is the best book in the series, in my opinion. I love it more than anything. And then it kind of drops down a little bit for me, and I'm putting Queen of Shadows back in obsessed but not tier. But not God tier. Because I liked Queen of Shadows. Also, don't come for me. I was not, at least on my initial read, I did not like Manon. I call her Manon. I don't care what anyone else says. But I didn't like her, so I didn't like seeing her POV, and I'm pretty sure that's when she shows up as Queen of Shadows. So that is why it's going where it's at. And then, honestly, to finish out the series, we just only go up from there. Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash consume my every waking thought. I love them. Specifically Kingdom of Ash. It is the most beautiful ending to a series I've ever read, and it's so satisfying, where every little piece that you would think wasn't important, it all comes together, and it just is it's so satisfying. You like get to the end and you're like, wow, like everything that you read seemed important. Like there wasn't anything in there that seemed like it could have been left out. So I loved Kingdom of Ash. Honestly, I love Throne of Glass, but Heir of Fire, Empire of Storms, Kingdom of Ash have got to be at the top. Okay, now that we're over with Throne of Glass, we have Legends and Lattes, and this is a cozy fantasy about I think she's an ogre who opens a coffee shop, and she used to like fight in wars and stuff like that, and then now she wants a simple life. I know I'm saying like, my cat really wants to be on my lap, I guess. He doesn't want to get out of the way. Come on. Okay. I know I'm saying that I remember this stuff, but I'm putting this in don't remember anything. That's all I know. And honestly, you could get that information by looking at the cover of this book, that it's an ogre and she's opening a coffee shop. If you like cozy fantasies, I think that it is good in that aspect, but I'm very specific. Like, when I read a cozy fantasy, it has to be, like, I have to, really be in the mood for it, and it has to keep me interested, and this one just didn't, so. Then we have Funny Story, which is arguably my favorite Emily Henry book that she's ever written. It's so good. I can't get over it. It is amazing, and I think we all know that I'm obsessed with Emily Henry. I love everything she writes. It's so good. There's fake dating, which we love. And it's pretty much like these two people get dumped, and then the people they got dumped with, they got dumped for each other. So it's like their exes are dating, and they were like friends, like it's the girl best friend and the guy, and they end up together. And then there's these two people who are just left dumped, and they need a roommate. They move in together, so there is like, they live together. It's amazing. The guy wears Crocs. He's funny. I love him. And it's just so heartwarming, and just like, I loved the characters. I loved the depth of the characters, as Emily Henry has a good job of doing. So I'm going to put this in Consumes My Every Thought, because for a hot second, I told everyone about it. I wouldn't shut up about it. Anytime someone asked me about a book, I talked about Funny Story. So it's going up there. Next, we have Stuck With You by Ali Hazelwood. This is a short, like a novella, a short story. She did like a collection of novellas. This is the only one I read, and I literally don't remember a single thing about it. Like, not even a tiny little detail. I was trying to look at the cover to like jog my memory. Don't remember anything. So it's going in don't remember anything, because I have no idea. No clue. Couldn't tell you anything that it's about. So, moving on. We have Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. This is another, like, amazing romance. This is the first book I read by Abby Jimenez. She's now been inducted into my Romance Girlies Insta-Buy. She's up there with Ali Hazelwood and Emily Henry. I'm obsessed with her. And this is about a girl and her friend move to this, like, small town, kind of, and they're traveling nurses, so they sign on for this contract, and they pretty much do it because this girl, like the main character girl, meets a boy online, and he, like, lives in the area or something like that. So she's like, what the heck, our contract is up, let's just go there. And she wants to just have a fun summer and be near this guy she's talking to. So it's so good. The romance is good. There's good, again, depth in the characters and the story. It's not just about the romance. It's about friendship and, like, family relationships. It's very good. So I think I want to put this, I'm so torn between Consumes My Every Thought and Obsessed but Not God tier, because when I finished it, it did consume my every thought. But now, I don't know if it does. You know what? I think I am going to put it in Consumes My Every Thought. Just because when I read it, I was so consumed by it, and just like, I couldn't be stopped. I loved it so much. Next, we have One Dark Window, and this is an amazing, I feel like most of the books I read are good, which I guess is a good thing. But it is about a girl, the magic system is amazing. She has this, like, monster living in her head, almost. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde type of thing. Sort of. Like, that's kind of like that. And she has this monster living in her head. The magic system is, they utilize these cards to perform, like, to do magic. And you have to be, like, in possession of a card to use its ability. And it's so unique. I've never read anything with, like, the magic system like this, so I really did enjoy that. And it is so good. So this is going in, yeah, I'm going to put it in Obsessed but Not God tier. And then Two Twisted Crowns is the second one, and that one is also going to go up into Obsessed but Not God tier. Because I just was, and still am, obsessed with this series. I wish there were more. I will read more books by her because I loved her writing style. And she, I think, is coming out with a new duology that's similar in like that like dark fantasy. So I'm very excited for that. Next we have When the Moon Hatched, and this is again another romantasy book. It was very good. I remember really liking it. I got the Fairy Loot edition of it. There's dragons, and it's very, I don't want to say everything's unique, but it is like this like very pretty story of like when dragons die, they become moons in the sky. And I don't know, I just find that so beautiful, but the romance is kind of weird. I don't know how I felt really about the romance. I don't know if I really felt that connected to it, but I think it was still good. I'm gonna put it in recommend but haven't thought twice about, because I do recommend it if you like romantasy, but I haven't really thought about it since then. I'm excited for the next one though. Next we have Powerless, and this is one I've also talked about a couple times. Powerless is like, I think just did a video where I was talking about this, but it's just a ripoff of, not a ripoff. Everything is, you know what I mean, like, things are repeatable in books. It's especially with how saturated, like, the market is right now with fantasy books, or romantasy books in specific. It is so hard for it not to be copies of things. It's a lot like The Red Queen, but it's about a girl who has no powers. Fun. And in this world, she can't be powerless. So she pretends to have powers, saves a prince's life, and gets put into this, like, competition where she has to pretend that she has powers. So I liked it. I remember really liking the first one. And then the second one, which is also on here, Reckless, I did not like as much. So I'm going to put Powerless into recommend, but haven't thought twice about it. And then for Reckless, which is the second one in the series, the third one comes out soon, I think. Maybe not soon, but it's coming out. And I'm going to put this in should have been great, because I really did like the first one, and I had some high hopes for the second one, but it was that just super repetitive, why are they still fighting about this? Like the love interests. It was like, why do they still have this, just, there's no resolution to them just arguing and having the same issues over and over again. So I just couldn't, I couldn't get past that. It drove me insane. I did finish it, I did read it of course, but I wanted it to be so much better. Next we have Serpent and the Wings of Night. This is another, like, just like When the Moon Hatched, one of those popular book talk books that just like went viral and everyone was obsessed with it. And this is about a girl who goes into this kind of competition. There's another competition. And they're essentially like fighting for the... I'm trying to think of the word for it. Like, they get a wish, essentially. Like, at the end of this, the person who wins gets to ask for whatever they want, and it'll be granted to them. And the main character is human, whereas everyone else is vampires, and her town was, like, ransacked when she was younger. And the king guy rescued, like, saved her. She was a baby, and he took her in. And so she was raised by vampires, but she's human. So she's going through this competition against vampires, even though she's a human. I think I'm going to put this in recommend, but haven't thought twice about. Because it's another one, like, where if you like romantasies, you are going to like it. But I do think the plot was kind of, it's like a reused plot, you know what I mean? Which isn't always a bad thing. Next, we have The Kiss of Deception, and this is the same author who did Dance of Thieves. This is the original series, so Dance of Thieves is set in this world. She wrote this trilogy first, and I was obsessed. I read this series so fast. It was so good, and all three of them are here, so we'll just do all three. The Kiss of Deception, The Heart of Betrayal, and The Beauty of Darkness. These were so beautiful. Like, the world was so good. The characters were so good. I can't get enough of it. And this is one of those series that, like, I recommend to people if they're looking for a good fantasy series where it has romance, but, like, the romance is not the main consuming part. Like, it's just a little piece of it. And the rest of it is just about, like, the world. Pretty much it's like this princess is, I can't remember if she's kidnapped or if she's, like, sold off to these people. And she's kind of thrown into this environment where it's hostile to her. She shouldn't be here. And she's like a prophet almost. Like, they see her as, like, she can predict things and she can see the future. And she kind of uses that as a way to, like, at the beginning, gain some type of, like, protection from people by making it seem like she is, like, someone who's, like, important, essentially. But it's very good. I recommend. And I'm going to put the first one in obsessed but not God tier. And then I'm going to do the second one, The Heart of Betrayal, as Consumes My Every Thought, because the second one was so good. It's like one of those books where you get to the ending and you, like, have to immediately pick up the next book because you want to. I do tend to not, like, the second book in a series is almost always, like, my favorite one. Whenever I, like, read something where it's, like, a trilogy or something, I tend to really like the second book in a trilogy. So, it's just a common theme. Next, I have Abby Jimenez, Yours Truly. And it's Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. But this one is about, I think it is another one where they're nurses. They're doctors, I'm pretty sure. If they were doctors or nurses, it was good. I do like Abby Jimenez's writing style, but there were some parts of the plot that I did not like, and especially some of the tropes that were in there, which I'm just not a fan of. So I'm going to put this in should have been great, because I had really high hopes for it, and then, like, at the very end, they just threw in this one trope where I was like, oh, of course, and it just kind of ruins it for me. Next, I have Beneath These Cursed Stars, and this is a duology set in the same world as These Hollow Vows. It's technically, like, the third book in the series or something, but they're separate people. And this is about a princess and a girl who can change forms. She can take on the appearance of other people and their memories and thoughts and stuff. So they trade places because they both have things they want to accomplish. They switch spots. It was good. I've talked about this a little bit already. I tend to prefer one character over the other, so I get a little bit bored. So I'm going to put this in recommend, but I haven't thought twice about it. Next, we have The Summer of Broken Rules. And this one, I remember also being surprised by this. It is just a summer romance. It's very cute. It's YA. I really liked it. It's big, though. Like, it's a long book. And I liked the story in it. I liked the characters. But I don't really remember anything about it. I just remember it being like a summer romance. So I'm going to put don't remember anything. That's where she's going to go. But I do remember liking it. So if you are looking for, like, a good YA summer romance book, I recommend. Then we have Flawless by Elsie Silver, and this was my first Elsie Silver book that I've ever read. And I really liked this one. I read it when I was, like, traveling or something. So I had a very interesting time reading this, like, on an airplane and stuff. And I tend to, like, with romances, I'm more of a closed door, fade to black kind of person. So I don't really care. I like more of, like, the buildup of a relationship, like the tension between people. And this one did a really good job with that. So I really liked that. It is about a girl who's a publicist or like an assistant. She's like a publicist assistant type of person. And she is going to work for this guy who is a professional bull rider. But he doesn't have, like, the best reputation, and so she is just going to help him out, I guess. It was really good. I liked the romance. This is like a huge series. I can't remember if this is called like the Chestnut Springs series, I think is what it's called. And each book is like different characters. But I haven't read any of the other ones. I do plan on it. Like, I think that they would be good. I also think this was on Kindle Unlimited. So, read it for free. I am going to put this in recommend, but haven't thought twice about. Because I finished it and then I was kind of done. Oh, the next great one. The Raven Cycle. I did not like this book. I was really confused most of it. I think I listened to it for the most part on audiobook. I didn't like it. I didn't like the story. I know this is so popular. I don't know what it is and why I don't like it, but I was just not a fan. I thought it was weird, very boring. I just couldn't get into it. And this is definitely going in should have DNF'd. It's about like this group of boys and this girl who is like, her family are witches. I'm pretty sure this is in like New Orleans. And there's like this paranormal activity happening and she's investigating it and she comes across these boys and they all kind of like work together. Yeah, I just wasn't a fan, didn't like it. Next we have, this is, I think, what is this? The Infernal Devices, I believe is what this series is called. And I think so. Oh my gosh. It's gonna drive me crazy. Yeah, I believe this is The Infernal Devices. And the first one is Clockwork Angel. And this is Cassandra Clare. She wrote The Mortal Instruments. Of course, the Shadowhunter series. This is the same thing, but it's like very steampunk and set in like an older time period. I really liked this so much more than, I don't want to say so much more than The Mortal Instruments, because like those, I read those when I was younger. You can see the progression in like her writing and stuff in these series versus like The Mortal Instruments. But I loved the characters. I loved the stories. I cried so many times. And this is a trilogy. So there's Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. I read all three of them literally back to back. I was obsessed. Couldn't be stopped. And I remember finishing Clockwork Angel and I drove immediately to Barnes & Noble to buy Clockwork Prince because I just had to have it. And I think that I want to do Clockwork Angel as obsessed but not god tier. And then Clockwork Prince. This is, again, the theme in the stories I read. Consumes my every thought. I loved Clockwork Prince. It was amazing. I can't stop. I was obsessed with it. I actually, this whole series, like when I finished it, I was telling everyone, I was like, you have to read it. I was like, please, put me out of my misery and read this so we can talk about it. And then Clockwork Princess is going to go back into obsessed but not god tier. I really loved this series. If you even liked The Mortal Instruments just a tiny bit, I think you should read these. They're so good. There's like robots, like these machines and clocks, and it's really, really good. But it's essentially like a similar thing to The Mortal Instruments where they're shadow hunters and there is like this person who is making these machinery. He's like making a machine army essentially, and they're trying to stop him. So then we get into where I started to reread the Harry Potter series. I should have honestly made its own little column for like nostalgia, but I love the series. I've read it so many times. I was obsessed when I was a little kid, and even now, like, I still just, there's so much nostalgia in reading them that it's just like nothing matches the vibes I get from reading these. And we're just gonna go through the whole series. We have Sorcerer's Stone. I don't even wanna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm adding another row. I'm adding this Little Fun Purple Row. That's not what I wanted to do. And I am making this called The Nostalgia is Real. And I'm going to put all of Harry Potter in here because I just can't, I don't think, put it in anywhere else. It's just so unique and it's like own thing that I can't justify putting it in any other. So they're all going there. They're all going in The Nostalgia is Real, which take with a grain of salt that I put it at the bottom. But I'm just gonna shut up about it. I've said it enough. If you like and have never read them, you can get them at the library. You can find so many copies at thrift stores and used bookstores for so inexpensive too. I recommend getting them from your local thrift stores, and they are just like this beautiful story of like friendship and magic and like being like going through all these struggles in life and still coming out as like a good person. So I just love them. They definitely shaped me as a person. Oops, we forgot one. Next we have Belladonna. This was one of those books, again, which was like a big TikTok book. Everyone was obsessed with it. Took me a while to like actually read it. It's kind of another like dark fantasy where it is about a girl who can't die, and she kind of like, she can see and talk to death, and she will like poison herself to see him and talk to him. She saved him as like he saved her when she was like a baby from death and kept her alive, and that's kind of how this happened. And she is trying to figure out who is like killing these people in a state, and there's someone being poisoned. It's kind of like a mystery, but there's a really weird romance in it, and I just can't get behind it. I don't think this is a spoiler because like it's a romance fantasy book, but the girl and death like have a romance together, but like he's been there since she was a baby. It seems so weird to me that like it's almost as if he raised her. And they are having relations. I couldn't get past that fact. I don't know if anyone else I'm sure other people thought of that. But like, to me, that's so weird. Why couldn't it have been like, I don't know. Because he talks about watching her like grow up and stuff. And like, oh, it just gives me the ick. I can't get behind it. I'm putting this in should have DNF'd. I had the ick every time I was reading it. I don't know why I kept going. And I guess it has a good plot. Like, if the romance wasn't so, it's on the bad side of cringy. If it wasn't so cringy, I think I would have liked it. But I just couldn't get past the, like, guy who practically raised this person from a baby getting in a relationship together. Next, I have Assistant to the Villain, which is, there's a series. The third one comes out this year. I'm so excited. The next one is Apprentice to the Villain. I have both of these on here. And I was obsessed with these books. I made my friend read them. I couldn't shut up about them. I am for sure putting Assistant to the Villain and consumes my every thought. It is about a girl, I've also talked about this before, but it's like The Office meets fantasy. This villain has this full functioning office with like people working there, office workers, like he hires a girl to be his assistant, and they have like the best tension, and just like she is so funny and unaware of her surroundings. I loved her so much. And he is like the grumpy like type of boss who is so protective of her, but she like doesn't see it. So I recommend, you have to read it. And then Apprentice to the Villain, which is the second one, I'm putting in obsessed but not god tier. Because I also really loved the second one, but the first one is just like unmatched in its story. Next we have The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I recently read this in fall. It's another book where I wanted to read it, and it just took me a long time to actually get myself to do it. But it is about a girl who is a witch. She has like this online community where she posts videos being a witch. So she's like pretends to be a witch online because people don't know witches are real. And these people call her and say like, will you come tutor our witch children? And she shows up and they actually are witch children. She helps to tutor them and teach them magic, which is kind of not allowed because witches aren't supposed to congregate because they draw too much attention and their power gets too strong. But it's a good, cozy fantasy about like found family. There's a romance, and I liked it, but I didn't really love it. I want to say should have been great because I had such high hopes for it. I really thought it was going to be like some groundbreaking story, and I was kind of let down. Next we have Daughter of No Worlds, and this is, I believe, by the same author as The Serpent and the Wings of Night. It's Clarissa Broadbent or something like that. And this is about a girl who wields magic, but she's like not full-blooded. She's like only partially blooded, and she lives in this kingdom as a slave. She escapes and goes to where all the magicians, I don't want to call them magicians, where all the magic wielders are, and wants them to teach her and apprentice her magic because she wants to go back and free the rest of the slaves. So it's her and this grumpy guy who doesn't want to teach her magic, doesn't want to be a part of this, who they are trapped together, working together. It is so good. I really liked the characters and just the story and the world, but I wasn't obsessed with it. I think if I was obsessed with it, I would have immediately read the next ones, and I didn't. So I'm going to put this in recommend, but haven't thought twice about. And we're on our final 3 books, which is so crazy. But the last 3 are a trilogy. It's more of a trilogy. It's more than a trilogy. There's more books. It's another thing, just like the Beneath These Cursed Stars, where it's a bunch of duologies, where they're like in the same universe, but different characters. The first one is The Bridge Kingdom, and I loved this one. I think that the story was so good, and this is why I feel A Fate Inked in Blood should have been better, because these were so, like, well written. I loved the characters, I loved the tension, the concept. It is about a girl who was raised in captivity, essentially. She's a princess. Her father took her and a bunch of her sisters and put her in a secluded house to be raised as assassins to fulfill a deal they made with another kingdom where they are sending one of their princesses to marry a prince after like 15 years. There was like a 15-year contract, and so these girls have been raised in captivity for this long until the contract is up. She is the one who gets sent to the kingdom to be the princess, but her actual goal is to take down the kingdom so that her kingdom can take them over. They own like this bridge. They have control of this bridge that is where all of the imports and everything goes through, and her father wants it. It's so good. I loved seeing like the character progression of the main girl, and yeah, I can't get past it. So The Bridge Kingdom is going and consumes my every thought, honestly. But the second one, which is The Traitor Queen, was also very good, but I feel like I liked the first one better. So this one's going to go Obsessed, but not God tier. And then The Inadequate Heir is the third book, but it's its own duology. And I thought this one was really good, but I just loved the other characters so much. It was hard for me to get into this one. And it's also set at the same time as the Traitor Queen. So I did really like that because you saw like a different perspective of certain events from these different characters. But it is about the princess from the other duology, her brother, and the heir to another kingdom get together and they want to essentially change the world. They want to make a difference. They want to bring peace. There's this war going on, and I thought it was really good. What's the next one? The Inadequate Heir. The Endless War. Sorry. The next one is The Endless War. I haven't read that one yet. I honestly just finished The Inadequate Heir, so The Endless War is going to be my next read. But I think I want to put this one in recommend, but I haven't thought twice about, which is funny because I just finished it, so I have really thought twice about it because I just finished it yesterday. But it's going in there. And that is every book that I have read. That's so crazy. Every book I've read in 2024, tier ranked in this tier ranker. I can't believe it. That's so crazy. So that is our final ranking. I am very happy that I read 59 books this year. I didn't read quite as much because I went into a bunch of different hobbies and just kind of dispersed my time a little bit more. But my goal was 50. I reached 59. I'm hoping I can make that again this year. I think that I can easily accomplish that. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!